Hi guys, we're going to go ahead and get started today. Today we're continuing working on linear equations. Just so you're aware, this is the end of our linear equations unit. We are testing on this Friday, December 4th. So this Friday we are testing on this. We are working today on the differences between slope-intercept form and standard form. So at the end of the day today, you're going to be able to tell me what the differences are between slope-intercept form and standard form and how to use them. All right, we're going to start with the warm-up. We're going to write equation for each of these lines on the graph. I want you to pause, try it on your own, and then watch the video. All right, go ahead and get started. Pause now. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and go over it. So the very first thing I'm going to do for each of these graphs is I'm going to find the slope. Okay, so I'm going to start with m. Remember that m's formula is the change in y over the change in x, or rise over run. So since we're looking at this one, since it's not rising, it's sinking, it's going to automatically make this a negative. And I'm going to count down my change from point to point. So I'm going down 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's negative 4. And I'm going over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's negative 4 over 5 for my slope here. Now let's move on to this one. If I look for my slope, I have to start from 2 solid points. I can't start here because I don't know 100% what point this is at. But I can start here because I 100% know that this is negative 2, negative 4. So I'm going to draw a point there. Then I'm going to come draw a point right here. And that's going to help me trace my rise over run. One thing to pay close attention to is remember that I'm going by 2's here. So even though I'm going only up 1 box, I'm technically going up 2 numbers. Same thing here. Even though I'm only going across 2 here, I'm actually going across 4. Then I'm going to put I'm going to go ahead and put it rise over run. So it's up 2 over 4. Now I'm going to simplify it. 2 divided by 4 is 1/2. All right, moving on to my next one. I have a straight up and down line. Who remembers what kind of slope is a straight up and down line? Remember, we have positive, negative, 0, and undefined. Which one is it? Good, this is an undefined slope. All right, moving to my next part, I need to find my b. Find my b here. It's easy. I have a point marked. I can just count 1, 2, and 3. Now, finding my b here is not so easy because it looks like it's halfway through the line, but we're not 100% positive, so we need to check. So remember, our formula is y equals mx plus b. So let's find our b. We know our slope is 1/2, so I can plug in y equals 1/2 x plus b. Now I'm going to plug in one of my points. If I go to this point here, it's negative 2, negative 4, where x comes first, then y. So I'm going to plug in negative 2 for x and negative 4 for y. So I've got negative 4 equals 1/2 times negative 2 plus b. Negative 2 over 1, to be able to multiply these two, 2 and negative 2 can be cross-reduced. So instead, I have negative 4 equals 1 times negative 1, which is negative 1 plus b. And now need to get the b by itself, so center of my equation is the equal sign. I'm going to add 1 to get rid of negative 1. Negative 4 plus 1 is negative 3, so my b is equal to negative 3. So we could have guessed that it was negative 3, but it's important that you don't guess because you never know. It could stretch out to a really small amount. This could have been negative 2.49 for all we know. So it's important you use the math to check it. And then looking at this one, the b never crosses the y-intercept, the y-axis, so there is no b. Okay, so now let's put our equations together. Y equals mx plus b. We know m for this one is negative 4 over 5x plus 3. So there's our first equation. So now let's go over here. I have y equals 1/2 x minus 3. And then going to my last one, I don't have any y values here. I only have x values. No matter what my y is, my x is always the same. So this is actually going to be x equals. And we're going to put it at x equal at the value that it crosses at, which is at 2.5. All right, pause it if you need to finish writing down this work and then move to the next slide. All right, hopefully you paused and you're now ready to move on to the next slide. Let's go ahead and move on. All right, so there's two different forms, main forms, when we're talking about linear equations that I want you guys to be aware of. The first one is slope-intercept form, and the second one is standard form. Okay, in slope-intercept form, we have y equals mx plus b, and we know that this m is going to be the slope. We know that this b is the y-intercept. And we know that this is our input and this is our output. Okay, so now if we look at this form, this is called standard form. And standard form shows you A, which is your slope, divided by B. Okay, so the B here, that's what A represents. And C represents your y-intercept, but also divided by B. But X is still our input, and Y is still our output. Slope-intercept form is really easy to graph with, and it's really easy to identify your slope and y-intercept from. But standard form is what's really easy to be able to get our x-intercept, which is the point where it crosses the x-axis. So whenever you need to get the x-intercept, that's why you want standard form. Oftentimes you will find that the equation is presented in standard form, but you want to do things in y-intercept form. And that's okay. Y-intercept form is the form we're more familiar with, so I'm going to show you how to convert standard form into y-intercept form to help make your life a little easier each time. If you need to finish labeling this or writing your equations, please hit pause now. All right, if you didn't hit pause or you've unpaused, that means you have all of this information written down. You're ready to move on with me. So let's go ahead and keep forward. So let's talk about how I can turn standard form equation like this into slope-intercept form. So the first step that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to move the x. Okay, so if we're trying to get this into slope-intercept form, we need to move the x to the other side. And the way we move the x to the other side is just like if we moved any other item to the other side. We use the opposite operation. So center of our equation is our equal sign. We have a negative 2x. So to get rid of a negative 2x, I'm going to add 2x. Anything I do to one side, I have to do to the other. Okay. So now I have y equals 5 plus 2x. Okay, our next step would be to get rid of anything next to the y. So divide by the number next to the y. Do I have a number next to a y though in our equation? Nope, I don't, so I can go ahead and skip to the third step, which would be to simplify. I can't add 5 or 2x, so this is as simple as it gets. So I have y equals 5 plus 2x. All right, if you need to finish writing these notes and writing the steps, please pause now. Okay, the final thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my information here and I'm going to fill out what my slope and y-intercept is. My slope is going to be m, which is 2, and my y-intercept is my b, which is 5. Even though it's written 5 plus 2x, you can always find the slope because the slope is always what's attached to the x. All right, moving on to my next one. Let's go ahead and clear my screen. We're going to try another example problem. So this problem is going to be 3y equals 2x plus 36. So once again, our first step would have been to get the x by itself, is to move x to the other side. But do I have to do that here? No, I don't have to move x to the other side here because the x is already on the other side. So now we go to step 2, which is to divide by whatever number is attached to the y. So there's a 3 attached to the y, so I'm going to divide by 3. Anything I do to one side of the equation, I have to do the other. So now I'm going to go ahead and simplify, which is our third step. 2 cannot divide by 3 evenly, so I'm going to leave it as 2/3 x plus 36 divided by 3 is 12. Now I'm going to go ahead and fill out my slope and y-intercept. My slope is the number next to x, so it's 2/3. And my y-intercept is going to be my plus b, which is 12. All right, if you need to pause to get this work down, please do so, and then we'll move to the next slide. Pause now. All right, if you're with me, you're ready to move to the next slide, so let's continue going. All right, we're going to practice one more. Again, our very first step is to move the x over. Okay, so I'm actually going to rewrite this so I have room to move the x over. So it's 10x minus 5y equals -15. Okay, center of my equation is the equal sign. Anything I do to one side, I have to do the other. To get rid of a positive 10x, I have to subtract 10x. And that's going to help me move it over to this side. So now I have -5y equals -15 minus 10x. Now I have to divide by the number that's attached to the y, which is -5. Anything I do to one side, I have to do the other. Now I'm going to simplify. -15 divided by -5, well, a negative divided by a negative makes a positive. 15 divided by 5 is 3. Then -10 divided by 5, a negative divided by a negative makes a positive, so that's plus 2x. So that's my equation, y equals 3 plus 2x. My slope is the number that's attached to x, so that's 2. My y-intercept is the plus b number, so that's going to be 3. All right. If you need to write down this work, pause now. If you are not paused, you are currently with me, ready to erase the slide and move to the next one. All right, we're going to practice this one now. I want you guys to practice it on your own first. So go ahead and pause now to try the problem. Pause now. All right, if you're with me, you have currently solved the problem and you're looking to check your work. Center of the equation is the equal sign. I'm going to start by moving my x over. The opposite of plus 5x is minus 5x. Anything I do to one side, I have to do the other. Okay, so now I have 2y equals 10 minus 5x. I'm now going to divide by the number attached to y. So I'm going to divide by 2. Anything I do to one side, I have to do the other. And now I'm going to simplify. 10 divided by 2 is 5. -5 divided by 2 is going to be -5 halves x. So now if I'm going to fill this out, my slope is the number next to x, so that's -5 halves. My y-intercept is 5. All right, if you need to pause this, please do so. All right, if you're with me, you're ready to clear the board and move to the next slide. So now we're going to talk about graphing the equation. Okay, if you want to graph your equation, there's 2 ways you can do it. The first way is to put it in slope-intercept form and graph it the way we have in the past. So let's practice that way. Center of my equation is equal sign. I've got to convert this over. I've got to move my x first, so I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. Okay, now I have to divide by the number attached to the y, so divide by -3. Anything I do to one side, I have to do the other. Now I'm going to simplify. -6 divided by -3 is -2. -2 divided by -3 makes a positive 2/3x. So now if I want to graph it, I'm going to start with my y-intercept, which is -2, and I'm going to put a point there. So there's my point at -2. And then I'm going to use my slope, which is up 2/3. Up 2/3. Up 2/3. Up 2/3. If I were to reverse it, just like going home, I have to reverse my directions back 2/3, back 2/3, back 2/3, and back 2/3. And now that I've got that, I can draw my line. Okay, So step 1 is to convert it and then to graph. So that's option 1. You convert it to slope-intercept form, and we graph it just like we do for slope-intercept form. All right, let's move on to the second method of graphing. Okay, so the other way we could do it is we could find the x-intercept by plugging a 0 in for y, and then find the y-intercept by plugging a 0 in for x, and connect the 2 points. So to do that, what you would just do is you plug a 0 in here, and you would do 3x minus 0 equals 9. Center of my equation is my equal sign. 3x minus 0 is 3x equals 9. Now I'm going to solve for x by dividing by 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3. So we know that it crosses the x-axis at 3 here. Okay. Then the next thing I would do is I would plug in a 0 for my x to find out what my y is. So if I plug in 0 for x, that's 3 times 0 minus y equals 9. Center of my equation is my equal sign. 3 times 0 is 0. 0 minus y equals 9. 0 minus y is negative 9. Y equals 9. Divide by negative 1 on both sides to get y by itself. Y equals negative 9. So now I go over here and I'm going to plot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, and then what I would just do is connect the 2 dots now. And there's my line. Either method works. You're going to pick which one you like best. Pause now if you need to continue working this. All right, let's move on to the next one. All right, now I want you to try it on your own. I want you to try it whichever way you prefer. Go ahead and pause now. Okay, so I'm going to make the calculations both ways. The first way I'm going to do it is by converting this to slope-intercept form. So I need to move my x over. So I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. So now I have 4y equals 16 minus 2x. Now I'm going to divide by the number attached to y, which is 4. Anything I do to one side, I have to do the other. Then I'm going to simplify. 16 divided by 4 is 4. Negative 2 divided by 4 is negative 1/2 x. So that gives me my equation here. The other way I could do it is by plugging in to find out what my intercepts are. So 2x plus 4 times 0 equals 16 will give me my x-axis, the intercept. So 2x plus 4 times 0 is 0. So 2x equals 16 because that just cancels out. Center of my equation is equal sign. Divide by 2 on each side. X is equal to 16 divided by 2, which is 8. Okay. Moving on to my next one, I'm going to find my y-intercept. So I'm going to do 2 times 0 plus 4y equals 16. Okay, 2 times 0 is just going to cancel out. So now I have 4y equals 16. Center of my equation is equal sign. Divide by 4 on both sides. 16 divided by 4 is 4, so my y-intercept is 4. So I either could plot just my 4 and 8, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Or I could plot it from my slope-intercept form equation, and I could start with my y-intercept, which is 4. Already plotted that. And then do my slope, which is down 1 over 2 because it's negative 1 over 2. So down 1 over 2, 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 down 1 over 2. If I wanted to go on the other side of the y-axis, I reverse it like I'm going home. Up 1 over 2, 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 up 1 over 2. And now I can draw my line. And it's done. All right, I'm going to go ahead and clear this board. If you need to pause, please do so. Now what you guys need to do is you need to complete your checkpoint 9 in Summit line design. Go ahead and go to checkpoint 9 in Summit and complete line design. Have a good day, guys.